You may recall that President Trump had a less than tactful or respectful response to Puerto Rico following Hurricane Maria, but did you know that he also is responsible for $33 million in tax debt for Puerto Rico? So let's go back a little bit and remind you of what his tweets were. So Texas and Florida are doing great, but Puerto Rico, which was already suffering from broken infrastructure and massive debt, is in deep trouble. Its old electrical grid, which was in terrible shape, was devastated. Much of the island was destroyed, with billions of dollars owed to Wall Street and the banks, which sadly must be dealt with. Food, water, and medical are top priorities and doing well, #FEMA. I don't know about you guys, but it's always so clunky to read his tweets. That's so embarrassing that it doesn't even make sense what he tweets.
Right, he has a hard time formulating a sentence.
Well, I mean, first of all, its old electrical grid is wrong. It's ITS, not IT''S. So, but
it's incorrect.
It's incorrect, and then just the notion that you would now decide to
criticize
Puerto Rico for the financial crisis that they were in before they got hit by Hurricane Maria. It's just outrageous, and it's like what it is. It's not just outrageous. It's not like I'm offended by it. I don't care. Nobody cares if I'm offended by it. It's telling that when people need help the most, you decide to say, "Hey, look, they mismanaged their money," and it makes it seem like he's being a little punitive, right? Forget that they're brown, right? What matters most to him is that they're poor and they didn't do anything about it, right? Or they did the wrong things about it, right? Or they didn't just default on a loan and leave some I don't know what, a territory with a $33 million tax debt. But the notion that now, so its old electrical grid, which is in terrible shape, was devastated. Much of the island was destroyed, with billions of dollars owed to Wall Street and the banks, which sadly must be dealt with. So deal with it.
Right.
So go help. Hey, how about this? Let's give them $10 billion. Making a number up, it's probably too much, right? Let's give them money. They're Americans, they need help. Puerto Ricans who know, economists would argue that the Jones Act has a lot to do with the economic devastation that Puerto Rico was under. I'm sure there was a great deal of mismanagement also. I'm sure it's not just the Jones Act, but let's fix it. Let's fix it, and the first thing you do is making sure that people stuck in an airport and stuck all over the island stop being thirsty. That would be job one, and then you get insulin and heart medicine and everything you need, and you bring people to the United States, and it costs a tremendous amount of money. A tremendous amount of money is a burden to American taxpayers, but we do it because that's what we do in America. Particularly, I think we do it to help Mexicans, but we definitely do it to help Americans. And the notion that you'd be like, yeah, their electrical grid, they didn't fix it, and now look. I mean, what an ass. That's what an ass says. That's what a bully says. That's what the least popular kid in school does. That's what a person you hate does. That's what a person you can't talk to does. That's a loathsome thing to do now. You want to have an argument in 2 years about how to bail Puerto Rico out? Then you have it. But we have an obligation to help Americans, and you don't complain about their electrical grid or the amount of money they owe to Wall Street, not right now. And if you were any kind of a man, if you had any kind of principles, you'd just fix it. Or you'd start a conversation to fix it.
Well, he has contributed to the economic crisis in Puerto Rico, so you have those details.
Yeah, he definitely has. So he called them out on Twitter back in April. This isn't the first time that he's just been a total ass to Puerto Ricans. He said in April 2017, the Democrats want to shut government if we don't bail out Puerto Rico and give billions to their insurance companies, or care failure, no. Now, the Florida Democratic Party released a statement to counter this. They say, Puerto Ricans are tax-paying American citizens, though it isn't surprising that Donald Trump clearly doesn't know those non-alternative facts. Trump is simply lying. The negotiations being discussed are not a bailout, but would help provide desperately needed access to health care for seniors and children on the island, instead of using Puerto Rican families as scapegoats and bargaining chips for the disastrous Republican budget process that will likely lead to a government shutdown. He should pay back the nearly $33 million he owes Puerto Rican taxpayers after yet another one of his businesses defaulted on the island. Now, what they are referring to is the Trump International Golf Club of Puerto Rico, which, according to Fortune, borrowed $26.4 million in government-backed bonds in order to pay for improvements, but later defaulted on nearly $120,000 to bondholders. In 2015, the club filed for bankruptcy, which is when Trump, who licensed his name to the property, property, desperately tried to distance himself from the place bearing his unbearable name. Now, of course, the Trump brand has tried to distance himself. Eric Trump has said, we have nothing to do with it. We purely manage the golf course. That's not us at all. But according to BuzzFeed News, Trump did pocket hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees from the resort. So this is just another load of bullshit.
Yeah, they defaulted on the loan. They defaulted on the loan, leaving Puerto Rican taxpayers with a $33 million tax debt. Okay, that's who Trump is. And I mean, this man, really, he's a savvy businessman. He's a savvy businessman. He's gone bankrupt several times, won't pay back his loans, continuously defaults. He's a failure through and through, has absolutely no humanity, has no empathy or compassion for Americans that are suffering right now at this island. It's just disgusting. And so, again, I think you're right, Ben. I think it goes toward, the ethnicity, the fact that this isn't Houston, this isn't Florida or South Florida. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care. And these people are suffering. And by the way, another thing to keep in mind, things are so dire in Puerto Rico right now that families, unfortunately, have to live with other family members who have died, who are deceased, and they have no other option. They don't know what to do. So there's a dead body in their home, and they have no resources. They have no food, no water. They're waiting in 4-hour-long lines to get their hands on gasoline. It's just a terrible situation, and we're turning our backs on American citizens, US taxpayers, because our president just looks at them and thinks they're brown. They have an outdated power grid, whatever.
I think he thinks that they're poor. I think he thinks they're poor, and that doesn't
poor
interest
and
him.
brown.
Sure,
So.
I got it. I mean, I'm not arguing that this guy, but I'm on a regular basis, like he. If this country, what I'm saying is, even if they were brown, they're definitely going to be brown because they're Puerto Ricans, right? But even if the country was humming along, right? If it was an economically vibrant island and a site of tourism, and his golf course there hadn't failed, we'd have waived the Jones Act and he'd be helping because that's what he likes, right? And he doesn't like to help people, and a lot of Republicans don't. He doesn't like to have people, in his mind, this is not reality because the Puerto Rican people had very little choice in this matter. He doesn't like to help people who don't help themselves, right? And so he's decided to dismiss them. That's the only way you'd send out a tweet which would essentially says, you didn't fix your electrical grid and your infrastructure was bad and now look what happened. He wants to punish them. That's his comfort level. That because he doesn't understand what the job of being president is.
And I think he knows that his base doesn't understand that either. He knows that if he didn't respond well to Houston, that's Texas. He's going to hear that backlash. He doesn't care about the people of Puerto Rico, and his base doesn't either. And he knows that, so he can be have this tepid, disrespectful response to Hurricane Maria, and he knows he's not going to get any flack for it. He would have gotten that with Harvey, and he knows that he can skate by.
I think if we start, depending on the kind of pictures that come out of Puerto Rico, and there've already been some, but if we start seeing suffering kids, then you can talk about his base, and maybe some of them won't care, but people will care. People don't like to see people suffering.
Which is why
so I think he is.
I don't know about that.
I think he is miscalculating.
Which is why I think it is really important, if anyone has like a social media presence, it's really important because they do not have power right now to ask for help themselves. That's something that I was seeing on Twitter earlier. So we need to get out the word to all the organizations. NPR has a great list that you can donate to and just give what you can and just raise awareness if that's all you can give. I think it is really important because right now a lot of Puerto Ricans can't even do that for themselves.
Help us build independent media. Become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.